Good morning, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for September 2nd, 2014, around 7:05 in the morning in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's going to be a very hot and humid day. Highs around 90 or so. This is going to be like one of the 6th day. It's going to be in the 90s, and coincidentally, this is the first day of school for the returning students at Billerica Memorial High School. They get to spend the day in not air conditioning buildings, and where was this weather during the summer months for the kids to enjoy? Beats me. Maybe it was a different weather pattern this year, but next year we're probably going to pay for it. We'll probably have about maybe 15 to 20 90-degree days in the summertime. There's not too much news to report today. And so my first video subject blog of the day is about the history of the NBA on CBS. The NBA on CBS lasted 17 years, from October 20th, 1973 to June 14th, 1990. And this was the first big NBA exposure that got on national television. The CBS Sports carried all NBA games, finals games, either live or on tape delay during the duration of the contract. Plus, a lot of the playoff games were televised as well. Some of it was through regional telecast the first couple of rounds or so. But the biggest criticism that the NBA on CBS had during its early years, that they played a lot of loud music. There was a lack of stability in the announcers during the first few years. There was some of the announcers who called NBA games on CBS for the first few years were Frank Lever, Don Criqui, Pat Summerall. He even called the 1974 NBA Finals. Brent Musburger, Gary Bender, and several others, including a young Bob Costas as well. And they regionalized many of the games, and they didn't even show a national game at all until 1979 on their regular season telecast, and they showed up to 6 regional games out during their Sunday afternoon telecast, which impacted the ratings a lot further. And they even had and another thing, there was too much time devoted to showing replays of the slam dunks or amazing plays without focusing on the games. And during the halftime of the NBA on CBS, they usually showed mini games of celebrities playing basketball and also horse competition. But that changed a few years later when they showed human interest features of some of the NBA players, basically what they did on the NFL Today on CBS. And during this time as well, a lot of CBS affiliates preempted the NBA on CBS during the 70s, especially in markets like Cincinnati and Atlanta. Atlanta had an NBA team, the Hawks, but the CBS affiliate did not want to show the NBA on CBS. They showed reruns of movies, and those movies got high ratings. And Cincinnati basically lost their NBA franchise a few years earlier, the Cincinnati Royals, and they decided they didn't want to show any NBA games, so they showed reruns of movies as well. And the NBA Finals, on CBS for the first few years, they showed it live in prime time, but they were getting abysmal ratings for the NBA Finals on prime time. So they started to tape delay the NBA Finals. They would show it 11:30 after the late local news to most of the country. The only people who got to see the NBA Finals games on CBS was the CBS affiliates in the home markets of the finals, and maybe could be around that region. But the rest of the country, they they just showed they showed it tape delay, and they would usually show the CBS primetime lineup. This got complicated in like 1980 or so when the Lakers and the 76ers were in the NBA Finals, and there were two marquee teams, but CBS did not want a primetime program, especially on Friday nights, because they had Dallas, Dukes of Hazzard, and the Incredible Hulk, and they were in reruns during that time, and the reruns would have probably got better ratings than the NBA Finals game. So most of the country, except like Los Angeles and Philadelphia and a couple of other cities, just showed the game live, and it was tape delayed everywhere else, which this was not good. And also there was a lot of rumors that around this time that the NBA was going to be dropping the programming for CBS. CBS really did not really want to carry it, but a lot of the NBA owners were afraid that if they lost CBS, they would not go back on national television and the league would fold. This was when they were having a lot of problems with the NBA with image and stuff. A lot of teams were on the verge of bankruptcy, and the CBS contract actually saved the NBA. One of the reasons why the NBA did not fold, because even though the contract was only like $75 million back around the late 70s, early 80s, that was probably a major revenue stream. It was a lot of money for these NBA owners back then. Probably covered most of the team's payroll and stuff, because they got a portion of the contract split 22 ways. And by the like early 80s, the ratings of the NBA and CBS bottomed out. They hardly showed regular season games. They maybe showed a handful of regular season games. They just were focused on the NBA playoffs and the NBA Finals, which by 1982 they broadcast live on primetime again. And the announcers during this time was Dick Stockton and Bill Russell, and eventually, like the next year, 1983, it was Tommy Heinsohn as the color man for Dick Stockton, and Dick Stockton was the lead play-by-play announcer of the NBA and CBS until it ended in 1990. And Brent Musburger was involved in NBA Finals on CBS as either play-by-play announcer or host every single year except 1990, and they got usually ratings back up because of the Celtics and the Lakers and also other good teams back going into the 80s. Their first contract that they signed for CBS was $27 million in 1973. That was kind of a lot of money. And then the last contract they signed was $173 million. That's a lot of money, and typically by the 80s they were showing like maybe about a dozen to about 16 regular season games, and a lot of the playoff games, which the first couple of rounds they regionalized. The regular season games, they did not regionalize at all during the 80s because they were marquee matchups. They usually had some double headers. Some of the announcers who did it besides Dick Stockton were like James Brown and Jim Nantz, and Greg Gumbel did the NBA and CBS during its later years, but by 1989 the NBA signed a new national television contract with NBC, and CBS. The 1989-1990 NBA season was the last year of the NBA and CBS, but CBS acquired the rights to Major League Baseball, and that took up a lot of money for them to go after the NBA as well. So June 14th, 1990 was the last NBA telecast on CBS, and was an end of an era. The NBA and CBS had its ups and downs during the years, but I think the stability of a television contract for the NBA back then was pretty good for them, and and like they usually had the Lakers and the Celtics in the NBA Finals. They played it a lot in the NBA Finals during this time on when they were on CBS. But another criticism, a lot of like smaller markets like Phoenix and Portland and Seattle were in the NBA Finals during this time, and Houston. And I like the first couple of the theme songs for the NBA's on CBS. I play from time to time on like CBS owns radio stations for the sports radio stations. I don't think we'll ever see the NBA back on CBS because they have the NCAA tournament and there's no room at all. And plus, even though they partner with Turner Sports for the NCAA basketball tournament, I don't see it happening at all. There's rumors that CBS might be interested to get like a contract for the CBS Sports Network for the NBA, but I really don't see that happening. And this would be good, but I don't see it happening. And the NBA and CBS was kind of a great sports package. This is when it's helped the growth of the NBA towards the late 80s being on CBS, and they did a great job of it, and I think it was the growth of like the NBA has to contribute to CBS and stuff like that, and it was a good package. And you sometimes see like classic NBA games on like NBA TV and CBS Sports Network for the CBS Sports owning the NBA. So that's about it on that. I'll be back later on today for 2 more video blogs. I'm going to do a video blog on a television character, John Bosley of Charlie's Angels. The actor who played him was David Doyle. And the third and final video blog of the night will be It's Time. It's time. It's Vader time. Have a good day, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye now.